And we're back with WHHITV, and I'm delighted to introduce you to Dean Lawrence here at the school. And also we have Amy Simonis, who is a student here, is a junior. So on the heels of having a conversation with Thomas, who just graduated at the Naval Academy, we were talking about your writing program, the classical writing program. And off camera, we were talking how important it is to really learn to write. It really takes you to any place in a career. So I want to ask you, Dean, what makes your writing program, the classical one, so important? What do you think about that?
I think it has largely to do with our conviction regarding the importance of writing and why one would want to know how to write well. And I think it's just this, you know, the Lord in creating us made us creatures who use words in order to interact with one another, but he also made us creatures who use words to discover the truth and to communicate that truth to other people. Which is why writing, or rhetoric as it's referred to in classical thinking, is a liberating art. When you know how to use words correctly, when you can formulate your thoughts with an arrangement in an essay, let's say, you're nearing the truth. And you're finding ways in order to communicate that truth to another person. And when we do that, well, it's the truth that sets us free. And so it's this orientation to the liberating truth that is at the heart of classical writing and classical rhetoric.
You know, it's interesting. It's funny you should say that, because I recently have noticed in our world of using words and how we talk to people, sometimes I think to someone, can you use another word, please? Because sometimes they use that same word over and over, and we have this amazing English language and a broad vocabulary.
Oh, sure.
And sometimes you want to have new words brought in just because you want to make that conversation more interesting. So I think that applies not only in speaking, but also as well as in writing.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, you know, if you can speak well and you can write well, there's almost no field in which you will not flourish. Because communication is the heart of what we do. And so if you can communicate well, gosh, that doesn't mean that you're just going to be a reporter or interview people on camera. You could also do really well in scientific fields, in computer technology fields, any field in which you're interacting with other people, you need communication. And so writing is the key, really, that unlocks success in 100,000 different ways.
Annie, let's talk about you. You're a junior now.
Yes,
Tell us when you started here at the school.
I started in 6th grade, so 2016.
Okay, and how has your years, now you've been in middle school and now into high school, and as those years have passed, share a little bit about how this education is, you feel, preparing you for your next step.
I mean, I think it definitely prepares us. You know, in especially the writing program, we're taught how to formulate our own ideas and opinions about things. And especially in middle school, we kind of learn the logic behind, you know, opinions and, you know, the art of persuasion, I guess. And in high school, we learn rhetoric, which is how to, you know, formulate the opinions we've learned in middle school and how to say them eloquently. And I think that really prepares us for out of school when we're in the, you know, the world and having to, you know, we're asked these questions of, well, why do you believe what you believe? And because of the education that Holy Trinity has taught us, we're prepared to say, well, this is why, eloquently and well.
I love that word, eloquently. You don't hear that often, and to hear that from a young lady is wonderful. So if you communicate with eloquence and grace, as you all, I'm sure, taught here, that's just so important in today's world, where that really is lacking, as we find in this digital world, as we're talking about, and, you know, instant messaging and texting. You just don't have a lot of that. So
but Andy, Andy, I'd like to ask you, because on that, you're a junior. And
yes,
so
ma'am.
Next year you're looking at you're going to further your education?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a sense where you want to take your career?
I'm really interested in audiology, which is a doctorate degree. Mainly for the reason of my mom's a speech therapist, and I've always loved what she's done, but I think giving people the ability to hear is such an important thing. We miss so much if we can't hear, you know, and especially, you know, going out from Holy Trinity, we're supposed to spread the gospel and, you know, spread the good news of Jesus. Giving the ability for people to hear that, you know, kind of has a double meaning to me, especially, you know, physically hearing, but also going out and spiritually hearing too as well.
Speaking of great books like the Bible, great books is something that you focus on here. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, the question that often comes is what is it that makes a book great? But if you think about it, for most of human history, the way in which books were replicated was not through digital means or through a printing press, but people actually laboriously, word by word, letter by letter, copying them out. And there are works that come down to us that are thousands of years old. So somebody thought it was worthwhile to copy these works out, letter by letter, by hand, which means there must be something in them that's worthwhile. So when we read works like Homer's Odyssey, which I know is Annie's favorite read thus far, we read these works and they tell us something about what it means to be a human being. It illuminates the human condition. It delivers something of the truth of what it means to be a human being. And that's really what makes the book great. Not that it has all the answers, but it maybe poses the right questions in ways that show us something about ourselves.
Interesting. Do you have another favorite book?
My favorite book, I think, currently is Dante's Divine Comedy, just because of the rich and depth of it coming from the medieval world. But Annie's, of course, we were talking about it earlier, is Homer's Odyssey. I'll be interested to see if that changes in the coming years.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me, Dean Lawrence. It's lovely to see you again. And Annie, we wish you so much success in your career and your life. And we will be right back with more 843 TV.